Prepare yourselves right now, because the absolute ceiling for Bo Nix has not even been scratched, and the rest of the league is entirely unprepared for what is coming. The Denver Broncos have quietly built an offensive juggernaut, and the historical evidence proves we are on the verge of a terrifying Year 3 quarterback explosion. If you thought last season was a wild ride, buckle up, because the definitive tape shows Bo Nix is about to take the entire NFL by absolute force. Before we tear into this undeniable proof, do me a massive favor and absolutely crush that like button, share this video with every die-hard fan you know, and hit subscribe so you never miss out on the truth. Are we honestly supposed to pretend that a quarterback who just completely ripped the league to shreds has somehow already peaked? The sheer disrespect being thrown around by the mainstream media right now is baffling, especially when you look at the definitive proof staring us right in the face. We have the actual words coming directly out of head coach Sean Payton's mouth, we have the incredibly aggressive actions this front office took at the end of last season, and we have the undeniable history of the National Football League backing us up. Let us take a walk down memory lane and look at what the greatest offensive minds in football history have to say about quarterback development. The godfather of the Denver Broncos himself, Mike Shanahan, has been incredibly vocal about this exact timeline. When he was building revolutionary schemes for John Elway and molding a young, dynamic RG3, his fundamental philosophy was crystal clear. He stated multiple times that you cannot even begin to comprehend what a franchise quarterback is truly capable of until they hit Year 3. That is the magic milestone. Year 3 is the exact moment when the chaotic, violent speed of the professional game finally slows down, and the true evaluation can actually begin. It is not just Shanahan preaching this gospel either. Look at Dave Gettleman. This is the man who oversaw the development of Eli Manning and watched countless signal callers navigate the brutal pressures of playing for the New York Giants. Gettleman confirmed the exact same phenomenon, emphasizing that the single most explosive jump in a quarterback's career happens between their sophomore and junior seasons. Nick Sirianni echoed this absolute truth when discussing Jalen Hurts. It was during that pivotal transition from Year 2 to Year 3 that Hurts went from a promising, raw talent to a legitimate, terrifying MVP candidate. Sirianni noted that this is when the offensive system is fully mastered, and you finally know exactly what you have in the tank. Even Andy Reid, the ultimate offensive wizard who drinks his own Kool-Aid, preached this exact timeline when Patrick Mahomes was making his massive leap. Let us look at the elite company Bo Nix is constantly compared to, and analyze the terrifying leaps they took during this exact stage of their careers. Joe Burrow is a phenomenal example. Burrow took his team to a Super Bowl in his second year, which sounds incredibly familiar to the trajectory we are on right now. Moving into Year 3, absolutely every single meaningful statistic of Burrow's skyrocketed. His interceptions plummeted, his total touchdowns surged, and his quarterback rating went through the roof. Now, some box score watchers might point out he had about 136 fewer passing yards, but they conveniently ignore a massive caveat. That was the year the Bengals played the Buffalo Bills in that tragic game involving Damar Hamlin, which was rightfully cancelled and stricken from the record. If you add those missing 4 quarters back in, Burrow surpasses every single metric, and Cincinnati even won 2 more games. What about Patrick Mahomes? He burst onto the scene looking completely unstoppable, yet his Year 3 jump was still staggering. He led his squad to 2 additional victories compared to the previous season. His interception numbers dropped, and his passing touchdowns exploded from an already impressive 26 all the way up to 38. His passing yardage saw a massive spike, and he did all of that while actually resting in the final game of the regular season. We saw the exact same phenomenon with Jordan Love. Even after missing 2 games in his third year due to an early season knee sprain down in Brazil, his underlying metrics were simply fantastic. His total passing yardage stayed essentially the same despite the missed time, his overall completions went up, and his completion percentage surged drastically. Most importantly, his interceptions were literally cut in half, dropping from 11 down to 6, sending his efficiency into the stratosphere. And then we have the ultimate poster child for the Year 3 explosion, Josh Allen. Everyone talks about Allen making the turn. He transformed from a guy analysts thought might wash out of the league into a perennial MVP nightmare. From 2019 to 2020, his numbers defied all logic. He threw for an extra 1,500 yards. He completed 125 more passes. His accuracy went from a massive liability to an elite weapon, and his team jumped from a 10-win season to a 13-win absolute juggernaut. The only real outlier in this historical trend is Jared Goff, who Sean McVay and the Rams unceremoniously dumped after his third year, only for Goff to experience a massive, unprecedented resurgence later with the Detroit Lions, blowing all his old numbers completely out of the water. We already know Bo Nix has completely shattered every single expectation placed on his shoulders. Everyone who loudly predicted a sophomore slump for this team is currently walking around with absolute egg all over their face. Nix led the Broncos to 15 glorious wins on the field, and even after the referees inexplicably robbed us of one, leaving the official record at 14 wins, the absolute dominance was clear. This team was quite literally one broken ankle away from Bo Nix starting in a Super Bowl during his second year in the league. Yet, the absolute audacity of the mainstream media is unbelievable. You have probably seen the articles flooding social media, specifically the viral one screaming about how red flags keep popping up for Bo Nix. They constantly harp on the fact that the Broncos struggled with throws over the middle last season. But the main crux of their ridiculous argument is that Bo Nix led the league for 2 consecutive years in something called failed completions. Let me just stop right there. Failed completion is genuinely one of the most absurd phrases I have ever heard in my entire life. It is a complete oxymoron. It makes as much sense as jumbo shrimp, or a cool Chargers fan. It simply does not equate to winning football. According to these analytics critics, a failed completion is any time you throw the ball on first down and fail to get at least 45% of the yardage needed for a new set of downs, or on second down if you do not get 60% of the yardage. So, if Bo Nix completes a first down pass for 4.5 yards, that is mathematically a failed completion. Are you kidding me? I will gladly take second and manageable all day long. If he throws a 6-yard pass on second down, setting up a beautiful 3rd and 4, that is considered a complete failure by these critics. It is absolutely ridiculous to label these hyper-efficient, chain-moving throws as red flags. Even if you want to entertain this bogus metric, the tape shows Bo Nix was already correcting it. From week 1 through week 9, he supposedly had 60 of these so-called failed completions. But from week 10 through week 18, as the game slowed down for him, that number plummeted down to 50. Here is the question of the day for you, and I want you to head down to the comments right now and tell me, do you believe trading a massive haul of draft picks for a superstar wide receiver is the ultimate proof that a front office fully trusts their quarterback to win a Super Bowl right now? Drop your thoughts down below. Because when you factor in the massive blockbuster trade to acquire Jalen Waddle, those short failed completions are going to vanish entirely. When you have an electric playmaker like Waddle, it is nearly impossible for him to catch a simple screen and not immediately burst forward for 4 to 6 yards every single time he touches the rock. The undeniable facts are that the Denver Broncos organization has shown us their hand. Sean Payton absolutely gushes about this kid every single chance he gets. But more importantly, look at their aggressive actions. Shipping off a highly coveted first-round draft pick for Jalen Waddle tells you everything you need to know about their internal evaluation. They firmly believe they are squarely inside Bo Nix's Super Bowl window right now. You do not mortgage your future draft capital to win now if you are unsure about your franchise guy. Furthermore, Bo Nix is already receiving the ultimate superstar treatment. The front office is actually bringing him into the war room and actively consulting him before making major roster moves. You simply do not do that if you think a player is going to flame out. They did not ask for input from Mac Jones. They did not build schemes around Colin Kaepernick's front office advice, and they certainly did not let RG3 dictate personnel. Both in their public statements and their private actions, you are seeing a franchise fully submitting to their quarterback's vision. If you still have any lingering doubts, just turn on the film from the end of last season. Defensive coordinators had 2 full years of tape on Bo Nix. They had the entire offseason to study his tendencies and scheme up the perfect game plans to stop him. So, what happened? Let us look at Week 14 against the Green Bay Packers. This was before Green Bay got absolutely decimated by injuries. At the time, they boasted a top 7 defense in the entire NFL. Micah Parsons was out there violently wreaking havoc, and that Packers defense was simply terrifying. Every single analyst went on national television and confidently declared that this was the week the Packers were going to completely expose Bo Nix. Instead, Bo Nix stepped onto the field and mercilessly carved them up for 300 passing yards and 4 spectacular touchdowns. And he did all of that without his starting guard, Ben Powers, and without Pat Bryant. The Broncos effortlessly dropped 34 points on a surging Packers defense whose coordinator had weeks to prepare. And we absolutely cannot forget the final time we saw Bo Nix play fully healthy, meaningful football before that tragic ankle break. It was a massive showdown against the Buffalo Bills. Heading into that game, the Bills possessed the undisputed top-ranked secondary in all of professional football. Every prognosticator swore that the only way Denver could survive was to heavily commit to running the ball down Buffalo's throat. But guess what they did not do? They did not run the traditional ball at all, because their backfield was entirely decimated. J.K. Dobbins was completely sidelined with an injury, and Jaleel McLaughlin fumbled the ball early and was immediately benched for the remainder of the contest. The entire offensive game plan was placed squarely on the shoulders of Bo Nix, and he essentially became the leading rusher of that game while simultaneously outdueling Josh Allen through the air. He protected the football better, committed fewer turnovers, and scored more touchdowns than Allen. He orchestrated this offensive masterpiece without his number 2 and number 3 wide receivers, as Troy Franklin was injured and missed the entire game, and Pat Bryant suffered a brutal concussion incredibly early in the first quarter. Watching what Bo Nix accomplished against 2 elite, top 10 defenses late in the season, including the absolute best passing defense in all of football, tells you the complete and honest story. The Denver Broncos are locked into a Super Bowl window, and he is going to have a historic jump similar to what we saw from Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. The Denver Broncos have shown you with their words, their extremely aggressive roster actions, and the undeniable game film that Bo Nix still has a massive amount of incredible development left to do. We have come nowhere close to seeing his ultimate ceiling. Over the past couple of years, I have made bold claims and hot takes that have all come completely true. 2 years ago, I promised you the Broncos would make the playoffs, and they absolutely did. Last year, I guaranteed you they would win the AFC West, and they brought home the crown. This year, I am putting it all on the line to tell you this: Bo Nix is going to be firmly in the MVP conversation, and that should give us a ton to believe in.